My name's Corey. I'm one of the bird keepers here at the zoo. So pretty much my day is looking after all the different birds in different aviaries, going around giving them food, making sure they're healthy, everything's clean. Yeah, so this is our Blue Mountains Bushwalk aviary. So it's essentially to kind of mimic the Blue Mountains area. It's a really important aviary for us because it helps for our Regent Honeyeater release program. So this aviary's got pretty much all species that you find in New South Wales. It's really important because a lot of birds are facing threats with habitat destruction, habitat fragmentation. So all the species that we hear act as a essentially to help represent the ones in the wild, to get people interested in caring for them. Also serves as a little bit of a population that we insurance population, so if anything were to happen in the wild, then we won't lose those species forever. So the main ones that we kind of focus on are the Regent Honeyeaters. We do a lot of species breeding with the Plains Wanderer as well, and a few other assortment of species, yeah. Yeah, so the Regent Honeyeaters, they're a honeyeater. So they're a small black and yellow bird. They used to be found in the thousands, flying across the New South Wales, southern Queensland, northern Victoria kind of area. They're very nomadic, so they like to travel constantly in search of food, searching for flowers, eating insects, that kind of thing. They're quite a social bird as well, so they do a lot of teaching themselves to sing. They have different parts of their song, which is really important for our conservation program when we're getting them ready for release. Habitat loss and habitat fragmentation is the big one. Because they're nomadic, they don't stick to one kind of area. They travel lots in search for food. So because people are destroying habitat, clearing it out, they aren't able to find food as easily. Their favourite food is one of the gum species, so they love the flowering gum. Essentially losing those tree species, they're not able to find food as easily. They also need each other for teaching their calls and songs, so with the diminishing numbers in the wild, they're not able to teach each other the songs. So we have a program here to help teach them their songs so they can chat to the wild ones and hopefully pair up in the wild. Yeah, so with the breeding program here, once the birds have hatched and are starting to fledge, we essentially put them in a separate aviary with males that know the wild call. We've also got speakers playing in the aviary that have the wild call. And we found that the birds need the other bird there so they can physically see them and get taught their song. Their song has a few different fluctuations and variations within it, so they might start to do little parts of the song, but they can also do the full lengths of it. It includes beak snapping and other trills and whistles. We started off with, when they first started the program ages and ages ago, they started with just collecting eggs from the wild. This was essentially so they don't impact the wild breeding. So they, just grabbed eggs because that's the minimal harm to the wild ones. They found that, without the parents there, without the other birds to teach them the song, they were releasing birds that didn't have the song. So we do occasionally get permits to do collections. So we'll do a wild collection, which helps us keep the song fluid. Also keeps the birds' genetics, so we're able to manage the genetics very well, so wild genetics are very important. So once we get the birds in, we have a lot of breeding happen off display, because we want to keep a really close eye on how the birds are going, how the babies are going. We want to essentially get the most, birds that we can from this breeding. Once they're bred, then we start going into the tutoring program. Once the tutoring program's kind of more or less finished, they usually will come into this aviary, the Blue Mountains Bushwalk. And because this aviary is so big, it helps them develop their flight muscles. It helps them to socialize with other species. When we breed them, we do breed them just Regent Honeyeaters. That's so we can keep an close eye on them. They don't have any other impacts from other species. So they have to learn that they're not the only bird in the world. So when we put them out in the wild, they're not shocked that there's a scaly-breasted lorikeet or another different lorikeet that's also competing for their food. So yeah, that's really important in this aviary. So they usually go for about 6 to 8 weeks in here before release. And then we try to have, the fittest individuals. They go through health checks from the vets to make sure they're fully fit, healthy, no diseases. Then we also partner with BirdLife Australia to help track them. So some of our birds will get trackers put on them. The trackers are just like a long antenna, sits on the middle of their back. Doesn't hurt the bird in any way. It's kind of like a backpack. And yeah, that way they're able to track where the birds are going, hopefully see where their movements are, see if we can find more in that wild. The trackers as well, so they've got a weak point on them. So the weak points, if they do get snagged, will come off. So it's no harm to the bird or anything. And then they're off into the wild. So I guess, my passion started when I was younger. I grew up in the southwest of Western Australia, so we had a lot of black cockatoos coming into like where we lived. Also, there was one time where we had an injured tawny frogmouth in our property, so being able to help that one, take it to a carer, I think kind of lit kind of a spark in me. And just going to all the zoos, seeing all the animals, the conservation work. That's, I think, how it kind of started. I went on to study zoology at university, did a lot of volunteering at a local wildlife park, did a lot of volunteering also with Black Cockatoo Conservation Centre. Really, I loved being there, and being on the releases there was probably really one that inspired, watching the birds go off back into the wild after you cared for them and rehabilitated them back into the wild,